Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who I am very thankful for, Kyle. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thankful for you too, man. Happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays to everyone who's listening to this on Thursday.
Yes, thank you to all. Well, I guess not everyone.
I would say everyone. I like our
Well, I mean, not like
listeners.
the Canadians.
What's wrong? Happy Thanksgiving to them too. Anyway, I don't know when
But
their
it's not a
holiday is.
Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's another time.
Well, they can
It's
celebrate
just a
ours
Thursday.
too. Yeah, it's okay. Well, happy Thursday.
Yeah, sure. Happy Thursday to all the Canadians. And I think for a second, I'm worried people thought I just hated Canadians for a second.
Yeah, I don't know. They broke my heart today and lost me money. That stinks.
I'm sorry. And then also they lost in soccer too.
Well, yeah, that's where I lost my money.
No, yeah. Yeah. Or did it lose a tie? I didn't see the end of it.
They lost.
Yeah, seems about right. But we'll save the football talk to the end for the end, perhaps. Let's get to the football of it all. Kyle, we'll get to the Monday night game, but I think the biggest story at this hour, we are tied up 35-35.
Yeah, bounced back with a good week here. Your boy was happy about that. The only one, I mean, the Giants was way wrong, and then the Packers thing was just a stupid pick. That was just, I shouldn't have done that. Otherwise, I'd be in the lead, but otherwise, can't complain too much. We're back in the game, back by Thanksgiving. I'm ready.
Yes. Yes. Thanksgiving feels good. They say football season starts after Thanksgiving, so we're only 2 weeks away or 2 days away from it starting. We're right here, Kyle. We're football season's all the way here.
It is all the way here. We're hitting the home stretch of this season, which is crazy to say. We're in week 12. There's only a few games left. Feel like we have a pretty good feeling of who's good and who's bad. And you know who is good? Put the segue in there. San Francisco 49ers. That is a good football team.
Yeah. Well, also, I think we could certainly make the argument of who's bad as well with this Cardinals team.
Definitely when it's Colt McCoy and Trace McSorley throwing the football.
Right.
That doesn't help. But I mean, at the same time, I don't think it's a great team either. And hey, you know who's good? Jimmy Garoppolo, playing pretty well right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Garoppolo, all of a sudden, I mean, he had a couple stinkers early on this year, but he's been playing good football.
Yeah, I felt like the same thing as kind of last year where he had a little bit of a run. It's like, oh, is he going to start again next year? The one thing, so I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the on-off numbers, I guess, as you can use it for Christian McCaffrey on this team have been extreme. Garoppolo is a way better player when he's on the field, as expected. And yeah, I mean, everything you wanted from that trade and everything you expected for that trade, he's not getting a whole ton of he doesn't look like he's running the ball for 1,000-yard season or anything like that. But his just impact has seemed significant.
Does the 49ers offense have the most stars on any offense? Because think about it, you got Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, you could maybe argue it's a star. You have Trent Williams in there as well. They have a lot of stars on offense.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that between Kittle, McCaffrey, Deebo, and Trent Williams, that they have 4 players that are top 5 in their position. And Trent Williams is probably
Deebo
the
counts as
best.
2 positions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then Trent Williams is probably number 1 in his position, right? And I mean, you can even throw Juszczyk in there. Juszczyk's probably the best in his position. I mean, what that means, I don't know, but still, I think that's a significant thing to have when you have that many good players.
Yeah, their defense has been a bit up and down due to injuries. I think that's the only kind of negative you have, although played well against, as you said, I think we said last week, Colt McCoy, good for 1 game a year. If you use him for 2 games a year, you're using him out. He'll be good for 1 game a year.
Yeah, we saw his 1 game last week and better defense this week that he ran into for sure.
Yeah. You wanted this, I don't think we have to spend too much longer on these 2 teams because we'll talk about them later on in the show. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good. I think we know what these 2 teams are. We were waiting for the 49ers to get rolling, and it feels like they're rolling now.
Yeah. Now let's get the preview rolling. As a lot of games this week, a lot more than we have had in previous weeks. So plenty to talk about. Now, unusual situation. I will be giving you a game first. It's a whole new world here. I think this might be the first time all season that this has happened. But giving you a game, I will give you the Bengals Titans. Bengals are slightly favored. Will you once again pick against the Titans?
No, I'm going to take the Titans in this one. I'm thinking about it. I'm just
Oh,
going to take the Titans to. Uh, I'm just going to take the Titans to win. I'm not going to lock it up. I do like them in this spot. I feel like this is where we're tricking ourselves into the Bengals again. I think they're a good football team. I think they're going to be a good football team, but still theoretically, I think without Jamar Chase, I just don't think they're ready to win in this spot on the road in Tennessee. So give me the Titans in this game.
yeah, a potential revenge game scenario for the Titans as a whole. Obviously, they were the 1 seed and lost in that incredible game that came down to the final seconds in Cincinnati. Felt like the Titans were going to win that game. If Tannehill didn't throw 3 picks, they probably do. So, a chance to get a little bit of revenge here. Titans are such an interesting team, right? I feel like they always seemingly overperform their record. I heard an interesting theory this week. Could it be possible it's because of how good they are in the red zone? They've been consistently a very good red zone team, and maybe that's why they tend to win more than we expect them to. I don't know why they're good in the red zone. It might just be having Derrick Henry is just kind of that thing. Is it possible that that's what gives them, makes them perform better than what we think they do?
Yeah, I think that plays a huge part of it. I mean, the big thing to me is that they're well coached, and I think well coached teams tend to win. I mean, there's a reason that Nathaniel Hackett's losing all these close games, right?
Hmm.
If you could say they're poorly coached and Nathaniel Hackett's a big reason why they're losing these close games, you could probably say Vrabel is a very good coach and the reason why they're winning a lot of these close games because they just execute. It seems like always under pressure, and a red zone I think is a big part of that. And you know, some of that stuff can be a little bit of anomaly, but when you have Derrick Henry, when you have their ability to finish inside the 20, I think that's a huge part of. I think that's a huge advantage to have.
Yeah, and not to mention they're willing to mix things up too, right? They'll put Ryan Tannehill as running. They'll have Derrick Henry throw. They'll do different things.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a team that knows their identity and knows how to finish drives. That's for sure. They're not going to get a ton of drives in the red zone, but when they do, it's usually 6.
Yeah. Also, as Carlos brings up Week 12 recap, okay, I put the wrong thing. I put recap instead of preview in the title, so I'll fix that.
Yeah. Um, I just realized Jamar Chase might actually play in this game. So I'll
Oh,
still roll with the Titans. I made the pick, so I'm going to stick with it. But I do think there's going to be a close game either way. I do think the Titans can pull this one out.
yeah. Two very interesting teams. I think last year it felt like it was going to be I can't think about this game without thinking about last year's game, right? Because that was such a big game. Like the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, the Titans would have hosted the AFC Championship game if Tannehill just doesn't throw that last interception, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right on that. That was a huge part of it, and it's going to be interesting to see how can he bounce back from that because it was such a close game. Um, Bengals are getting healthier, which I think is a big thing. They're still a little banged up in the secondary. How much? We'll see how much that affects them in this game. I think is a big question.
Yeah, I did. For the record, I also did have the Titans. We see Dylan says every time Kyle picks against the Bengals, they win. That's probably not exactly true, but still, there is some. I do think that I am also leaning Titans here. I think it's going to be a very good game. But I think Titans are playing very good football, and I think Titans are kind of a deep. I think defensively they played well against the Bengals last year in that playoff game. I think they should be able to do similar things in this one, and you just hope that the offense can do a little more.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it comes down to can as we talk about this red zone offense, can they continue to execute? Because I think at this point we just have to assume Joe Burrow is going to get his points. He's going to get his numbers, and so it becomes a little bit of a numbers thing with Tennessee. Can they get those points necessary to win this game?
Yeah, seems like a coin flip game to some degree. I like the I like the Titans plus two and a half though. I feel like I'll bet the Titans. But I could easily see the Bengals winning.
Yeah, this is an enticing line. It feels like it's out there. This feels like the Cowboys line last week, where it's like out there to trick us. But I do think I do see a scenario where the Bengals win this one pretty handily too. That offense is just rolling when it's on.
Yeah. Let's move on. Kyle, give me a game.
Thursday night, Thanksgiving, Patriots at Vikings.
Yeah, Kyle, you must be very excited that you have 3 different Thursday night games to potentially give to me.
Yeah, that's my thing. So let's do it. Let's keep it going.
Yeah. Give me the Vikings here. I just don't have enough confidence in this Patriots offense right now. I love their defense. I still think the Vikings will be able to do some things. Now, again, primetime Kirk Cousins. That's a dangerous thing to be betting on, right? For whatever reason, it seems to be a real thing that happens. I do like this Patriots team. I could totally see the Patriots winning this game. I'm interested in seeing sort of what did they do against Justin Jefferson. right? Feels like this could be the classic Patriots doubling Justin Jefferson game, but that means that now you have Adam Thielen and TJ Hawkinson. This is kind of why you went out and got Hawkinson, right? This might have to be a big TJ Hawkinson game. The thing is, I feel like I can easily, as good as this Patriots defense is, I still feel like I see this Vikings team putting up like 20 on them, and I don't know if I see the Patriots putting up 20. Like, that's kind of my thing.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I'm going both ways on it. It's going to be my big question. So the Patriots, I want to see what this defense can do in this game. So while they played well in that loss to the Dolphins, they did lose that. But if you just look at the Patriots defense has won games, or the Patriots have won games against quarterbacks Mitch Trubisky, Jared Goff, Jacoby Brissett, Zach Wilson, Sam Ellinger, Zach Wilson. They have lost games against Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa. How do they look in this game against the Minnesota Vikings? Now, granted, I would say only 2 of those games were really bad defensive performances, but I think overall, the numbers speak for itself. They've won against bad quarterbacks and they embarrass bad quarterbacks. They have a lot of convincing wins, like four of their 6 wins are blowouts. But how does this defense match up against the Vikings offense? I think is the big thing. I think this is a team that likes to play man coverage. They like to keep one safety over the top, not usually 2. They like to keep Devin McCourty back there. It would go against the grain a little bit to try and do that against Justin Jefferson. They have one of the fastest corners in the league in Jonathan Jones to be able to do a little bit of different things. Also, you could double him up like you were saying. It'll be interesting to see how that matches up. And the other thing, too, with this matchup of defense against offense on that side, this Vikings offensive line, which was kind of banged up last week, and I think it was a little bit of an underrated thing heading into the game. I don't think Christian Darrisaw is going to play in this game, or I'd be shocked if he plays coming off a concussion. That kind of created the offensive line a little bit for the Vikings. And we've seen Matthew Judon, Dedrick Wise, these guys be able to get after quarterbacks. If Darrisaw's not out there, can the Patriots defensive line overwhelm the Vikings offensive line?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I could easily see that happening. Also, one other thing, this Patriots rushing defense is all of a sudden, I feel like that was kind of thought of as a weakness. It's all of a sudden becoming a strength of this team.
Yeah, well, the big thing is Christian Barmore got hurt, and I really like Christian Barmore as a prospect, and I think he's going to be good. He's not a very good run defender as a defensive tackle. Godshaw is the better defensive tackle for stuffing the run, and as Barmore got hurt, it just meant Godshaw had to play more. And they've also schemed towards stopping the running games against certain opponents. They schemed against it to stop the Cleveland Browns. They schemed against it to stop the Colts. And they also schemed against it twice to stop the Jets specifically. So it's worked out that way too, that they've kind of built their schemes towards it the last few weeks. If they're putting a lot of attention to Thielen and Jefferson in this game, there could be opening for Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, and that would be. I'm just very fascinated. How's that chess match going to go? I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm sure they'll have a game plan.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating. I see a scenario where the Patriots do win this game just because I think they got the corners to match up with Minnesota, and they're going to throw different coverages at Kirk Cousins. They're going to get after him, and especially with Darrisaw out, they're going to get after him and blitz him. But I'm with you too. The Patriots need to find a way to put 3 touchdowns on the board. I think they just need to find a way to do it. I don't know how they do it because I haven't seen this offense really move the ball that well since Bailey Zappi was taken out of the team, basically, and after that Cleveland game.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't think Zappi. I don't think Mac Jones is the issue necessarily. I think that there's I don't know who's scoring much against in that Jets game, and the way you kind of beat the Vikings team is more by throwing than by running. So will be interesting to see. Want to move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I'm going to give you Falcons balls here.
Falcons balls. All right. This is an interesting pick. Give me the balls. I think we've had our fun with Atlanta. I think Washington's a better team. Washington's at home. Washington has the momentum. This just feels, and Washington can really cover. I think that this feels I don't know why this feels so easy, but I'm just taking Washington and feeling like I should win this game.
Interesting. I don't love either of these teams. They're both teams that are scrappy. They're both teams that are into playoff fun. I mean, this could end up being, it's possible this could end up being huge for playoff implications down the road, as these are 2 teams trying to get into the postseason. You're right. This Falcons team has definitely left certain things to be desired. I guess my question is, the Falcons have actually still been able to put points on the board at times. Like, I don't think their offense is terrible. It's not elite or anything, but it's kind of been, it's been all right. It's 15th in EPA per play. The way you beat this team is by beating their defense. That's how you attack this team, is you put up points against them. Typically, this Washington team has not been very good offensively. You could say it's been better with Heineke. It's still not great with Heineke. I mean, it's still very much a spotty offense. So while I kind of like this Washington defense, I do feel like I don't know if I trust the Washington offense to attack the Falcons' biggest weakness.
I agree, but at the same time, with the Falcons' defense not playing well, like as long as they find a way to get or McLaurin opportunities, like he should be able to win battles in this game, right? Like that's just kind of how I feel, especially with Casey Hayward not in the game. I just feel like he's going to have opportunity to win 50-50 balls, win balls on the sideline, and be able to beat this defense. And I think that's basically how you have to go about it. And yeah, I think Washington has the personnel at receiver to be able to expose this Falcons defense. I know it hasn't been great, but I think they have the guys. And then they have the best they have one of the better run defenses in football too, which I think just, is exactly what you want to have against Atlanta.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Listen, I have Washington winning too. I'm just saying I think this is how the Falcons could win, is if Washington, can't get it done in certain areas. Is this season almost the worst thing to happen to the Falcons in a way, where it's like the fact that they're kind of being mediocre? Like, would it have been better if they just sucked?
I don't know. Like I hear about this all the time when it comes to tanking in the NFL. Like, would it be nice to have like a top 5 pick? Sure, but at the same time, like you're still going to find a start. You theoretically, if you draft well, should find a starter at pick 20 or pick 18, pick 19, pick 17. You should be able to find a starter in that range still, right?
Yeah, but you need a quarterback, right? I mean, that's kind of the thing. Is I feel like typically I agree. If you have a quarterback, tanking doesn't make any sense. But if you don't have a quarterback, which I feel like they don't, and the fact that you have Desmond Ridder kind of on the bench, but you're not starting him because you feel like you have a chance to make the playoffs, so you're leaving in Mariota. It's like, if you got to just kind of see what you had in some of these young guys, I think that would be better than almost trying to win football games right now.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, does it even matter, like, drafting a quarterback in the top 5? Like, do you need to, like, make sure you're in that position? I mean, look at look at last year. We thought, 5 quarterbacks taken in the top 15. Maybe one of them might be good, you know?
Sure,
We
but it's an odds thing, right? I mean, obviously, it's not going to a first overall quarterback isn't a guaranteed hit, and a 15th overall quarterback isn't a guaranteed bust. But it helps to have there's a higher hit rate on the people drafted earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you see what happens, you take a chance. But I think at this point, there could be guys in the middle of the draft that have opportunities just as well as the guys at the top. And I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think you do need to eventually address the quarterback position. But I mean, if there's a guy there you like, there's a guy there you like. I don't know. I don't even know if I'd be convinced to take a guy in the top 5 this year.
Yeah, maybe. And also, it is more fun as a fan to watch your team do well than to watch your team suck.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Kyle, give me a game.
All right. I think you're gonna pick this one, but I'm fishy. Let's do Steelers at Colts.
Steelers at Colts. I'm picking the Colts. No lock up or anything. I'm just picking the Colts. It really is funny. I mean, if the Colts held on to win last week, they'd probably be looking at a 3-0 record with Jeff Saturday. That would have been fun. Not quite the scenario. I do think they go to 2-1 in the Jeff Saturday era. Colts keeping the dream alive of a potential 8-1 team.
Never die. They'll never die.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've been kind of vibing with what the Steelers have been doing lately. I was kind of leaning them right. I thought they looked pretty good last week. I mean, the Bengals, I think, are just a good team that they ran into. I thought they looked pretty good last week. I think they built some momentum, and I think they could definitely give this Colts team a run.
Sure. They do look a lot better with TJ Watt out there.
Yeah, that helps. And I think the defense has looked slightly better. And I think the big thing, too, is I don't know if Pickett's going to be good. I don't think we can confirm or deny any of that, but he looks more comfortable back there. And I think that helps. And I think that he's looked a lot better the last few weeks.
Yeah. I've liked what I've seen from Pickett. I'm not I think I agree with that. I guess I don't know. It feels to me like the Colts have, for the most, both of these teams are weirdly teams that have kind of looked a little bit better these past couple of weeks. I mean, we can say that the Steelers, nearly beat the Bengals. Well, hey, we just saw the Colts nearly beat the Eagles. So both teams are coming off of quality losses, if you will. I think that the Colts defense to me has been the most consistent thing. It still hasn't been perfect. It still had its bad days, but I feel like it at times has looked very good. I think this is the real test for the Steelers offense, which looked good last week, but I feel like we haven't seen it really been great all season.
That's fair. I do think that will be an interesting test. I do think how they're able to throw on this Colts secondary that I think is very good will be a tough test for them as well. And they defend the run very well. They're one of the best run defenses again in football. So I think they found a little bit of momentum too. Platooning Harris and this Jalen Warren in the backfield. I think that's also helped the offense a little bit. But yeah, I mean, how they're able to match up with this Colts defense will be important. But at the same time, like you said, this Colts defense is the most consistent of all these groups. The Colts offense is the worst, literally the worst. It's 32nd in EPA per play.
Sure, has looked a little bit better these past couple of weeks. I do have to say though, like they blocked a little bit better, they've ran the ball a little bit better, and Matt Ryan's played a little bit better.
A little bit better, yeah. I would.
It's
agree
not a
with
great
that.
offense,
Yeah.
but I just think it's been okay these past couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have gotten worse than what they were in against the Patriots, that's for sure. But
Sure.
they, I thought they ran out of steam a little bit. But yeah, I mean, they feel like this Colts team feels like a basketball team that like walks the basketball up the court and then uses like 20 of the 24 seconds on the shot clock, and then like tries to like pressure you for like 20 seconds and force you into a long possession. Like they just want to play, it feels like, as slow as possible sometimes.
Yeah, the Colts want like a 5 possession game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just a slow, methodical, and you got to out execute us. So far, a lot of teams have.
Yeah, so far it's been not that difficult. At least you tied the Texans.
Yeah, got that. That sets up the 8-1, right?
Yeah, right. We have a chance. Come on, Colts, pull off this win. You need to win this one to go 8-1. Let's move on. We don't spend forever on that game. I'm going to give you a fun one, albeit I think there's some intrigue here, at least in the Seahawks perspective. Raiders, Seahawks. Seahawks are 3.5-point favorites. This is, for Seattle, coming off of a tough loss to Tampa Bay, then had the bye week last week, hoping to get back on track with a win here against the struggling Raiders.
The struggling Raiders, indeed, although they were able to come back and pull off that win last week. I am going to roll with the Seahawks here just because I think they're a better team. And this Steelers secondary is bad. And I don't think the Seahawks...
Raiders secondary.
Raiders secondary is very bad. I don't think the Seahawks are going to have problem exposing it. So give me the Seahawks to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Geno Smith. I thought, Geno Smith's been very good this year. I thought he had one of his worser games against Tampa Bay, but still showed some nice things towards the end of that game. So I think that, I think I probably agree. I think that there's going to, like, who's covering DK Metcalf in this game? Who's covering Tyler Lockett in this game?
Probably no one. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the Raiders still do some things well. I think, Adam should be able to pick his number that he wants to get to in this game, right? Like,
sure.
If he says he wants 160 receiving yards, he should be able to get it because I think that they've played pretty well. I still don't trust this Seahawks secondary all that much. I think they've started to play better, but I don't trust it to go against Devontae Adams and win a whole bunch. But that being said, I just think keeping up with the Seattle offense is hard enough, and it's even worse when you have the worst secondary in the league.
Yeah, I do trust it to cover Tom Brady. They got that part down.
Yeah, they definitely have that part down.
Yeah. No, I think it should be an interesting game. I think you're right. I think both passing attacks will really come into play. But also, again, the Raiders are a team who I forgot we have not talked about Josh Jacobs enough this season. Josh Jacobs has quietly been like one of the best running backs in football this year.
Yeah. I mean, he has been very good. He's on a contract year now, and I think he's more than probably earned himself a payday this offseason. The only issue that Jacobs has really had this season is this Raiders team falls behind. and then all of a sudden they have to throw the ball because they're behind, and that kind
Hmm.
of feels like takes away from his touches. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, I think he's been a really good back.
Yeah. Seahawks have been a little bit better at defending the run in the past this year, so they have that. Here's a question by Dennis: best 3-7 team of all time. Yeah, Kyle, are the Raiders the best 3-7 team of all time?
No. No, I mean that defense just isn't up to par. I mean, they definitely have stars that look at when you look at their team and see the stars on their team, you look at guys like Colton Miller, like Devontae Adams, like Josh Jacobs in the way he's playing this season, like Darren Waller, who's barely played this year. You know,
Hmm.
you see the star power and say, okay, this probably isn't a 3-17, but they haven't played that well this season.
Yeah, I think that that's probably fair. We'll see if Seattle can, show that they are still legit and get a bounce back win for them. Kyle, give me a game.
I'm pretty surprised this game's still on here. I wonder if this is an anti-Panthers thing. Let's go Broncos. Broncos at Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, it's so we know Sam Darnold will be starting. I don't know. I can't pick Sam Darnold. I'm picking Denver. I can briefly consider locking it up. I can't lock up the Broncos. That just can't happen. But
Yeah.
I can't trust them to win any game by 2.5 points. That feels like a ton. This game, it feels like it's gonna be an ugly game. Feels like the Broncos are, neither team will score 20 points. But I think that this is like a 13-10 Broncos victory.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I mean, they're not going to blow any team out because they haven't done it all year and they don't have the offense to do it. But this defense should suck the life out of whatever this Panthers offense is left, right? They should be able to overwhelm them a little bit. I do like the Broncos in this spot. Feel pretty comfortable about it too.
Yeah, it really is crazy how good this Broncos defense has been, Kyle.
Hmm.
It's absolutely amazing because usually what happens is when you have a bad offense, the bad offense then hurts the statistics of the bad uh, of the good defense, right? It's like because of the bad situations you're in this situation. The Broncos defense second best in points per drive this season, only behind the Patriots. Despite this terrible offense, they're still dominant.
Yeah, I mean they really are, and I mean I don't have the numbers exactly in front of me, but I guess the one thing you could say is it seems like Russell Wilson is at least taking care of the ball some. So, I mean, he's only got 5 interceptions this year, so he's not, crazy high amount. But yeah, I mean, he's been able to take care of the ball a little bit this year. And I think that's helping because, as you pointed to, like, you can go back to those Buccaneers defenses when Jameis Winston was the quarterback. It was a good defense. They were stuck in terrible field position because they were giving the ball away. The Broncos at least can take care of the football, if anything else, and they're not putting their defenses in terrible spot. They're just not scoring points. So do you feel like Zach Wilson thinks the Broncos offense is letting down the Broncos defense?
Yes, I think he does.
You think so? Oh
Uh
man.
huh. Yeah, I think Zach Wilson's probably very strict about every other offense in the league.
Yeah, just not his.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it's been a tough year for Denver. It's been really tough.
Yeah, I still feel like for Denver, it's like I don't know. You're okay. Like obviously this year you're screwed, but like you have an elite defense. If you can just get like some receivers, I think to help out Russell Wilson. Like I don't think this is a dead. I don't think you're dead here.
I don't think so either. They definitely need to go get a guy or draft a guy, which, maybe this is the best thing where I think the tight end they got, Dolkich, I think he looks all right. Javante Williams will be healthy next year. Tim Patrick will be healthy next year. That'll help. But if they
Hmm.
can go get a true number one to, complement all those guys or draft a true number one, that'll go a long way. It's a
Yeah,
bunch of twos and threes, right?
yeah, exactly. And even some of those guys who we feel like are like twos have played like threes this year, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, I agree. So
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to give you a game now. Trying to figure out exactly where I want to go here. I think I will go. I'll go Chargers Cardinals because I know you love an opportunity to pick against the Chargers, so there's a hope there. But also you got Kyler Murray back, so two teams that are, the Chargers still have all those injuries on their offense. Kyle, who are you picking?
I am going to look at this Chargers injury report to see who's actually going to be on the field for this game. Um, I think I have to take the Chargers here. This is a must-win situation almost, I feel like, because I mean, they still have a chance, but they still got to play Miami, Tennessee on their schedule, and I think they need to start racking up some wins if they want to make the playoffs. And so I think this is a huge spot, I feel like, for them to win. And I think that they should go into Arizona and win this game. Yes, I'm worried about Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins kind of, just throwing me for a loop and dominating this game. But I don't feel like there's enough on this Arizona team to really feel threatened. So give me the Chargers.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that, again, I don't know. But couldn't you just? I think that's a fair. I think that's a fair pick. I think I would also pick the Chargers. But couldn't you just see like this being a DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray game?
Yes, absolutely. I think
Hmm.
that they're both very good players at their positions. Hopkins is a star, and I don't trust this Chargers team. I think I've well established that I do not trust this Chargers team. But I just think that, I just don't think, if you look at Arizona and what they've been able to do, it's not anything really particular. They're pretty average on both sides defensively, and they can't really cover all that well. And if Keenan Allen and Mike Williams can actually play 60 minutes of football, it'll go a long way to helping the Chargers winning this game because I think they can expose the secondary.
Yeah, that would be huge. Also, the question though is if they're playing, how healthy are they? Right? Like, what
Yeah.
kind of, with those guys healthy, this is a different Chargers team. Although you say the Cardinals can't cover very well, Chargers team's done better, but not by much. I think this is a team that definitely can struggle, defensively as well. These are two teams that have both struggled on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. But I mean, I trust Justin Herbert more than Kyler Murray to expose that, right?
That's probably fair, but do you trust Justin Herbert without maybe healthy quality receivers versus Kyler Murray with DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, I might still, honestly. I think
Really?
Keenan. I don't know. I think
Hmm.
Justin Herbert's a step above Kyler Murray. Yeah,
Well, interesting. I feel like you've been lower on Herbert. I feel like they're in the same tier, but I like Herbert more than Kyler. But I would still put them as like tier 2 guys. Kyler's, I don't know. Kyler's a hard guy to wrap my head around because he's had such high highs, but he's also like at times looked like he's just not even there.
yeah. I think we try and tier this thing, but at the same time, like if it's quarterback 7 against quarterback 12, like it could conventionally be those are both tier 2 players, but I don't think tier 2 is all made the same, right?
Right. Sure.
So, I think that makes a little bit of a difference. But yeah, I mean, it seems. I mean, Allen doesn't even have a little questionable thing next to him, so it seems like no matter
Okay.
what, Keenan Allen's playing. So, if I'm getting at least one of those guys with Justin Herbert, yeah, I'll take Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I would agree with that. Although again, we should mention, Cardinals defense not great, 19th in EPA per play. Chargers 27th. So
Yeah,
and Chargers have had a worse defense this year.
yeah. I mean, the injuries have taken a toll, but everyone's kind of injured, so you can't put too much on that. But I mean, they could use like a huge Khalil Mack game here, right? But I mean, at the same time, even a great pass rusher doesn't necessarily sack Kyler, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's fair. I think that the Chargers deserve to be the pick. Do you want to move on?
Yeah, let's go with Bears at Jets.
Bears Jets here. Interesting pick. Yeah, it's weird, right? Because the storyline, which we should talk about, is Mike White will be starting. Mike White, a guy who, should mention, Mike White's played in 4 games. He's not his stats aren't great. He had that great, one great game against Cincinnati with 400 passing yards. It was that weird thing where all of a sudden he randomly went off and had a great game there. It's kind of a game plan thing, if I remember correctly. It was my takeaway more than anything. Did not play great in those other games. He had I believe, a 2 touchdown to 6 interception ratio in those other 3 games that he played. A famously really bad game against the Bills with no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That was the bad one. So coming in here again, that still might be better than what they did have at the quarterback position. Coming in here to a team that for the Bears, great offense, horrible defense. You have the Jets, who have had a not great offense versus a great defense. So kind of interesting. It's almost on one side, great on great, and on the other side, it's bad on bad. I have the Jets winning. I think the Jets will win this game. I think the
Mhm.
Jets are the better football team. But there's definitely upset potential here.
There's upset potential. It'll be interesting because there's a chance both backup quarterbacks play because Fields has a separated
Hmm.
left shoulder. So he's questionable. Now, if he does play, it's not a throwing thing, but it could affect his running if he's struggling to hang on to the ball with that left arm. It could be an interesting dynamic. See how that works out. But regardless, you know, it's still up in the air if he's going to play. I do think this Jets defense should win this game, regardless of who's quarterback. The one thing, sure, give Mike White a chance, but did Joe Flacco still on this team? Why did he just get passed over?
Well, I think because he's not very good. I mean, I think we saw him play.
Yeah, but Mike White isn't very good either.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the issue. Is like that's they're making the bench. It seems like I don't know. It seems like a big reason why this benching is happening is because of they just are mad at Zach Wilson. Like they just don't like what he said in his press conference. So it's almost like a punishment. Because Robert Saleh said that he plans on having Zach Wilson start later on in the season. Which if that's the case, this is an insane decision to make, right? I mean, there's no reason that Zach Wilson is benched. Zach Wilson should be done as a Jets quarterback. This should be the end of Zach Wilson as a Jets quarterback. There's no way that benching him is going to help his development as a quarterback for the New York Jets, I feel like.
Yeah, I would say I agree with that. It makes no sense to me either. So I don't know what to think of that, but I mean, we'll see how this works out. I think the Jets should win. Mike White, I don't know. What is your expectations for Mike White in this game?
I think he'll be okay. I think one thing that we've seen Mike White do a good job of in the limited time we've seen him is just make the quick throws easy. Make the easy throws, make the easy throws quickly, get the ball to the guys who are in gaps and coverage underneath very simply, which I think there will be opportunities for that against the Bears. I think he should be all right there and just hand the ball off a bunch.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I like the Jets in this spot. So yeah, I mean, if they can, they have to find some rhythm offensively. So if they're able to run the ball a little bit, make it easy for Mike White, and make it easy on these receivers to get open. This is a much different defense than what they faced last week with that Patriots defense. So they should be able to throw the ball a little bit more.
Right. I mean, for poor Zach Wilson too. Not only do you get benched here, you get benched, and then the next game is against a really bad defense.
Yeah, I mean, would you have benched him?
I think we talked about this last week. I think I said I would give him one more week.
Yeah. I mean, the attitude is obviously the problem because after that, he was bad in the first game against the Patriots. And then after that game, he's like, oh, well, we'll see them in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, okay, you threw 3 interceptions. I don't know what you wanted. What's going to be different in 2 weeks? And then he was equally bad. And then the comments he said were even dumber and even more self-inflicting. So I just don't know exactly what his mindset is. But it doesn't seem like the team's really bought in either based on reports.
Yeah, I heard that, and again, who knows with these reports? I've heard from Jets fans saying that apparently he has some sort of personal beef with the reporter who asked him that question. Which listen, they're New York reporters, right? I'm sure that there's going to be some guys who get on your nerves. And apparently, when he said no, it was more of people are speculating it might have been frustration at just that reporter itself, and less about the answer itself, which is fine. But then you have to be okay in the locker room, and that's all that matters. And again, from what Robert Saleh said, it seemed like people were frustrated at Zach Wilson himself. So I don't know. It's a weird situation. It's not a good situation for the Jets. I mean, this is supposed to be such an optimistic year. It's not right now.
Yeah, I agree. This will be interesting, but yeah, I think it's just crazy to think that this team right now, I don't know, if they had, I still feel like if they had good quarterback play, this team should make the playoffs this year, but they're not getting it. And I don't think they're going to get it from Mike White either.
Well, right. Then that's the thing is people are saying if we just had league average quarterback play, Jimmy Garoppolo is not walking through the door. You're not getting a decent quarterback right now. And I know that seems like, there's no decent option. Your options are which one of these bad options do you have?
Right. So I don't know how it gets better, but we'll see what happens this season. We'll see how it addresses in the offseason. I do like the Jets in this spot, especially if Justin Fields isn't 100%.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one. Let's move on. Okay, well, I will give you. I'm wondering if this is a potential lock candidate for you. I will give you the. Let's go Buccaneers Browns.
Okay. I'm going to take Tampa. Like this spot here. This is the better team. coming off Tom Brady coming off a bye week. This Browns team basically hasn't been able to cover dirt this season. I think Tampa should be able to run it up a little bit. And if they've established momentum in the bye week, this is the time for the offense to come alive and dominate. They should be able to dominate this game.
Yeah, this feels like a chance to get right. It feels like a chance to show who you are. But again, we've seen this Buccaneers team look like they, go into matchups looking like this is where they should thrive and struggle.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a real problem for them all season that they haven't really been able to establish a rhythm offensively. I mean, they shouldn't go into this game thinking they're going to run the ball a bunch, although it might work a little bit because the Browns also can't defend the run. They're the league's worst run defense. But they should be able to throw the ball on this team too. I mean, this is just a terrible defense right now. It is not playing well despite Myles Garrett being awesome. So
Yeah.
I just think that they should be able to have a ton of success unless Garrett's living in the backfield and this offensive line has to do everything they can to stop him.
Yeah. No, I mean, Myles Garrett's been amazing for this team, but he really is a one-man show out there. I think that the fact that the Browns do not defend the run well is probably good news for Tampa Bay, as I think that they will, I think whether they should or shouldn't try to run the ball a lot, they're going to. Like, we just know who they are. That's going to happen. So the fact that they can, the fact that they should be able to be successful at that is certainly a good thing. And, Kyle, here's an interesting stat. Let's play our a new game on this segment, a new segment for this show, which is guess where the quarterback is ranked according to Pro Football Focus grade. Jacoby Brissett, guess where he is ranked?
I'm going to say he is 13th.
He is 8th currently right now in PFF grade.
Yeah,
How about that?
He's had a few good weeks, so he's playing well.
Yeah, no. I mean, Jacoby Brissett. I mean, this guy's what an interesting career this guy's had, right? I thought he came into the league and wasn't great, but he has sort of come alive these past couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, he had was it Miami that he was bad? But then he's managed to kind of put it together this season. I mean, he's kind of been a little bit up and down to me, but he's been throwing the ball pretty well, it feels like, in this Browns offense, and he feels comfortable in this Stefanski scheme.
Yeah, I still think he's too inconsistent to look at as a serious starter guy. But hey, we say it's a copycat league, right? I think teams will be looking for the next Geno Smith. Maybe Brissett is a guy who has that opportunity, has a chance for something like that.
Yeah, he could get an opportunity. It'd be an interesting last few, this is his last game to really show himself as a potential starter to teams. So we'll see how it works out for him. Big part of this game too, I guess, Vita Vea is questionable. Vita Vea is questionable. I never get his name right. And this Tampa Bay run defense has not been very good this season. I think it's 21st in the league right now. So how do they match up against this Browns team and, work to stop this running game?
Yeah, it's an interesting game. This is one of those two. I feel like the Buccaneers have to win this one. If you're going to be taken seriously, you gotta beat the Browns here.
Yeah, I mean they'll still be division leaders after this week, but at the same time, I think if you're going 5-6 and then trying to win games out to make the playoffs and then proving us you're a Super Bowl contender, I just don't see it.
Right. Yeah, I think so as well. Should be a fun game. I think that hopefully either way what happens, you have a storyline after this one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. All right. Kyle, give me a game.
Let's go with Giants at Cowboys.
Oh, Giants at Cowboys. We got plenty of games with lower spreads here. I'm assuming it's because of the Giants. Again, Vegas has been very not a fan of the Giants all season, it seems like. Giants 10-point underdogs here to the Dallas Cowboys, despite both teams having good records. I am picking the Cowboys coming off a great week, and I just struggle to see the Giants having any success throwing the ball on this Cowboys defense.
Yeah, I think I agree with that too, especially with the, they played earlier in the season and the Cowboys kind of beat them up and had Cooper Rush at quarterback. So if we saw this Cowboys offense that played last week, they should be okay against the Giants in this spot, right? They should theoretically be able to kind of instill their will in this game. They ran the ball incredibly well against the Giants in that game. CeeDee Lamb had a big game. I just feel like that in this spot, the Cowboys should win it pretty handily.
Kyle, I have a question. The
Yes.
Giants are 7-3. Should they be concerned about their playoff chances?
Yeah.
It feels like it's 7-3. You feel good. They're playing they still have the Cowboys under record. They played the Eagles and the Vikings still, and they play the Eagles twice and the Vikings, and they play the Commanders twice. I mean, this is it. Playoffs are not a lock here for the Giants.
I don't think it is either. I mean, they're a game ahead of San Francisco, who I think is a much better team than they are. I think San Francisco probably jumps them at some point this season and makes the playoffs. And then if you look at it, I think Washington, I mean, if you power rank the NFC East teams right now, just general feeling, you have the Giants fourth, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. I think the Commanders are better than them. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders end up sweeping them and making the playoffs and jumping them too. So yeah, I like both of those teams over them, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, again, the one thing you have to say, though, is that they have found ways to win. But how much of it is finding ways to win is just you happen to win games you shouldn't have.
Yeah. I mean, you can only do so much sometimes with that. A lot of that one score stuff can be lucky. Now, there is things that, you can outcoach a team to execute in those situations. But asking for it consistently, especially when, I mean, when the Titans do it, it's because they have good infrastructure. They have talented players. The Giants are doing it with Daniel Jones, and I mean, who's even at receiver anymore at this point?
Yeah, it's all Saquon Barkley, really.
Yeah, so I don't see it happening. I see a situation. I mean, I'm looking at their end of the season here. At Cowboys, home to Washington, home to Philadelphia, at Washington, at Vikings, home to Colts, at Eagles. I mean, they're probably not favored in any of those games, right? Maybe home to Indianapolis.
I would assume they'd be favored against the Colts, but that's the one.
Yeah. Outside of
I don't
that,
know I don't know if they'd be favored against Washington. I don't know what the line would be there.
I think Washington's got to be favored in both of those games. But I wouldn't even be surprised if the Colts are, a point favorite, 2-point favorites.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot for the Giants to be in. But hey, again, you just got to win a couple more games. You just got to win a couple games you shouldn't. Because again, you might not be favored in any of those games, but you're still going to win some.
Hopefully.
I mean, okay, yeah, sure, you don't. But typically, the Texans are probably going to win another game or two this year.
Yeah, theoretically they should, but they've also haven't really played good football over the last 3 weeks. They were beaten pretty handedly. They ended up closing the gap a little bit in that Lions game. I thought they were pretty thoroughly outplayed. Same with that Seahawks game. I thought they were pretty outplayed in that one. And then, I don't know, they didn't look that convincing against the Texans either, despite winning by 8. So they haven't really looked convincing the last 3 weeks, and maybe it's starting to catch up to them.
I think I disagree about the Lions game. They outgained the Lions yards per play. The turnover battle was the issue. They lost the turnover battle 3-0.
Well, they were down 20 at one point, weren't they? Unless I got that wrong. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they were able to move a lot of ball a little bit, but they didn't execute. And it seemed like the turnover luck was finally catching up to Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Last thought about this game is, again, another sort of general thought as opposed to the game itself. I feel like there's been rumblings. Should the Cowboys be favorites to win the NFC? It's a narrative that's out there. I've seen it out there.
I've been circling this a little bit. I've been high on this Cowboys team since I've seen them play well. I think they could beat Philadelphia, home or on the road.
So you're saying you think they can, or you think that they will, though? Well, what would you pick?
Right now, I would take Dallas, home or away. Home or away, I would take Dallas over Philadelphia. I reserve my right to change that by January. We don't know what these two teams are going to look like. Based on current trends and what I saw from Dallas last weekend, and for what I saw against Dallas for 3.5 quarters against Green Bay, I would take Dallas to beat Philadelphia.
Yeah, the Green Bay game is not the game to bring up.
I thought they played well for 3.5 quarters. They fell asleep. They, shit the bed for 6 minutes basically and blew it.
I guess so. I think that the game to bring up. I just feel like there's things to like about them. I feel like they've had a couple of missteps, but they've been good. I don't know. They're a contender. The NFC is a bit open here. Should be interesting to see
Who would you
how
take?
this goes. I'd still take Philadelphia.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, Philadelphia beat the Dallas Cowboys. I know it was different quarterback. I get it, but Philadelphia to me has been the better team throughout the course of the season. Dallas Cowboys just had a better last week.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, Kyle. So I'm convinced we have the same lock. I'm convinced that's what's happening here. So I'm trying to figure out what my strategy should be. Do I give you the lock? I'm trying to figure out. So does that mean that if I do it, does that mean that you will give me the game last? So I don't want to give you the lock because that way I'll pick it at the end here. So I'm going to give you Packers Eagles.
All right, I'll lock the Eagles up right after I said I take the
Oh,
Cowboys. Yeah, I think that the Eagles are a better team here. I think the secondary is very good, and I don't really see how Christian Watson just can't keep catching teams by surprise, right? Like eventually they're going to scheme up this thing, take Christian Watson out of the game a little bit, and I think the Eagles have dudes in the secondary to be able to cover him too. He's not just going to be able to run by everybody on their team. So yeah, give me the Eagles here to lock this one up. This coverage is very good. This secondary is very good, and as soon as they get ahead, Green Bay is going to have to abandon that running game that does well for them. I don't see it being able to keep up with this Philadelphia team.
yeah, it was kind of funny when I was watching the tape of the Titans Packers game from Thursday, and I was just thinking about I just found, we all to talk about like, oh, Christian Watson, he's the fix against this man coverage team. You can't leave him one on one. It's like he's not Tyreek Hill. Like you totally can still leave him one on one at times. Like okay, he got a little bit of stuff. Like as long as he's getting open constantly, like he's shown flashes as a rookie. He's been a good rookie for them, but their offense is too dependent on a guy who really should just have to be a role player at this point in his career, it's an issue. And I do think that, again, is it possible he could get past Darius Slay once in this game? Sure. Is it possible he's going to get past Darius Slay 3 or 4 times in this game like he did in Dallas, which is probably what they have to do to get a victory? Seems highly unlikely. I think I like this lock. I think I agree. I think the Eagles probably cover.
Yeah, and especially, if he does get past them, then you're throwing downfield on CJ Gardner-Johnson, who's just been an absolute ball hawk this season too. So there's not a lot of winning scenarios, I feel like, when you're throwing at this Eagles secondary. I feel like you're tempting fate. Now, the one thing is this Eagles run defense hasn't been excellent. I mean, I don't it's kind of near the it's 29th in football, run defense wise. Packers are 28th. But at the same time, as I was saying, if the Eagles are able to put together a couple scoring drives early in this game, which I think they should because this Green Bay defense has just been bad this season, if they're able to get ahead in this game, Green Bay is probably going to have to abandon their running game pretty quickly, right? And I just don't see a scenario where if they keep throwing downfield with these receivers on this Green Bay secondary or this Philadelphia secondary, they have success.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's true. Could this be the return of the Eagles' second quarter dominance?
It might theoretically it should be the first quarter. They should be able to score right away on this team.
Probably. And another thing about the Packers too, they're only 10th in rush EPA. Like you would have thought that'd be higher, especially when you factor in there's been games where they've been down. So rush EPA is just gonna be higher in those situations because the teams aren't defending the run. It's been good, but it's not been like amazing.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's been they've had some bad games. They've had some great games running the football, but they've also had some really bad ones. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting. What do you think of Ndamukong Suh game 1?
I didn't study it too closely individually, but what I did see is that the run defense as a whole was very good against a good, they were able to really shut down Jonathan Taylor. Gave up a couple good runs, but as a whole, still looked very good. So, the Eagles love to rotate guys. They love to have a bunch of guys come in and do this stuff. And hey, why not go out and get people who have history of success. So I like it. Linval Joseph and Sue both have very good PFF grades in their first games. Joseph 26 snaps and Sue 17. So for whatever that's worth, definitely looking all right so far.
Yeah, they are good. I thought Sue was good in that game. I love this defensive line, man. That's the one thing I do love about this Eagles team. Brandon Graham's very good. And I mean, he's technically a linebacker, but he basically is a pass rusher. I love Hassan Reddick. I would kill for a guy like Hassan Reddick on my team. It just seems like every time he's out there on the field, he's making a big play or he's coming up with a big sack at end of game. So I just think he's a big time player too. Everybody on this team, it seems like, can get after the quarterback in the front seven.
Yeah, listen, they heavily invested in that grouping, and it's worked out well for them. They've so far here. Let's move on. Kyle, give me a game.
All right. I think I know what you're locking up here. I'll just give it to you because it's the lowest line. And I think that's an interesting, I think there's still some upset potential here.
Did we lose Kyle? Okay, did we lose me or Kyle? Well, chat, let us know what happened. I cannot hear Kyle. Kyle is frozen on my screen. Sometimes.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now.
That was weird.
Okay. All right. Well, we're back.
My internet didn't like me for a second. Why are you locking up the Ravens?
Yes, locking up the Ravens because I think the Ravens are good. I think the Ravens should be able to do better offensively than they did last game. I think last game they kind of beat themselves a little bit. It's a bit fluky, and they still won by 10. I don't think Jacksonville's great. I think I could see Jacksonville. This feels like a game where I could see Lawrence make some mistakes. The Ravens, maybe their defense hasn't been as dominant as you would have hoped to see this season, but I still do feel like they've been middle of the road in terms of drop back EPA. I still feel like they have ball hawks who can come in and play well. And I feel like they have, a team that's had some missteps, but as a whole, still played very well. So, the rushing defense is the issue. But I don't know. The rushing defense isn't an issue. I'm just saying, I feel like it's a team that I think can be. I think I trust their defense to make some plays, and I trust their offense to be able to put up points.
I think so. Now the one thing is, like we were talking about on Sunday, they haven't exactly looked convincing in some of their games recently. But that being said, they should theoretically win this game by more than a touchdown. Jacksonville, I still think, has some dudes on their team. I still think they can get after him a little bit. Now, nobody really keeps up with Lamar, but couldn't this be the ideal game for a Trayvon Walker? Just this freakazoid athlete who kind of moves offensive linemen around, is better against the run than he is against the pass. This could be the kind of game that Trayvon Walker looks very good, right?
I think the ideal game for Trayvon Walker is the 40-yard dash.
That's true.
The NFL Combine. That's the ideal game for Trayvon Walker.
Yes, I agree. But maybe he's able to do a little bit in this game. Maybe he's able to make a little bit of an impact. But
didn't we say this about the Eagles too? Of like, oh, here's why you go out and get Trayvon Walker, and then he just was a non-factor.
Yeah, probably. So,
mm-hmm.
I mean,
I get it, but hopefully this is what Trayvon Walker can be used for. But I mean, again, as of right now, he's still yet to be effective, really, as an NFL player, other than a coverage edge rusher. Great coverage edge rusher.
Well, he'll be able to defend those running backs out of the backfield.
Sure. Listen, I'm not saying he's an invaluable player. I'm just saying that there's, has yet to live up to the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah. I do think the one thing is, though, that this Jaguars defense has some athletes. Not even just looking at Walker. Devin Lloyd, I think, is a good athlete for middle linebacker. Josh Allen is a terrific athlete for that other edge spot. If they're able to contain Lamar a little bit, I don't think this isn't necessarily a defense that he can just run away from constantly. He probably still can because he's Lamar and he's great, but they have guys that can chase people down. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I can see it, but I think the Ravens will do enough offensively, right? I think that I could see the Jaguars defense doing okay. There's a window to victory for the Jaguars, but it just I don't know. Jaguars are just such a weird team, right? They've just been such an odd team this season.
Yeah, it's definitely been inconsistent, and I think that's part of having a young football team is you're going to see some inconsistencies on it, right? But I do think if they're able to put things together, the big thing is, so this Ravens defense historically under John Harbaugh likes to throw different blitz packages at people, likes to kind of confuse quarterbacks with coverages and who's coming and who's not. Trevor Lawrence has to be careful with the football. It's something that kind of broke the Jaguars earlier in the season and put together that string of losses for them. If he's able to take care of the football and, identify blitzes and execute passes, that's a big thing, but I just don't see it happening in this one.
Yeah, should be an interesting one to watch. Always the two teams where even if the score is not close, they're still fun to watch. I'm gonna go back to Thanksgiving. I'm gonna give you the Bills at the Lions. Who do you got?
I would probably bet Lions plus 9.5. I kind of like this spot for Detroit plus 9.5.
Hmm.
But I'll take the Bills here. They're a better football team still. Lions are doing some things right, but I could see this being one of those games where the Lions offense falls back to earth again.
Yeah, seems possible that could happen. Um, I guess here's my question: could this be a game where I think the Lions defense is maybe more interesting? The Lions defense slowly starting to play better, but got a great quarterback coming to town.
Yeah, that's for sure. The pass defense has slowly been getting better and better. But yeah, I mean, if we get the best version of Josh Allen, he should still be able to carve up this defense theoretically. But we haven't exactly seen the best version of Josh Allen over the last few weeks.
No, and that's totally reasonable. And if the Lions can pull off this victory, I mean, we're talking, hype all the way back.
I mean, as we talked about, are you convinced with the Giants for a playoff spot? If they win this game, like it's not inconceivable they'd be able to climb into the 7th seed, right?
If they win this game, this might be the biggest Lions victory in the Super Bowl era.
Super Bowl era. I mean, didn't they win a game to make the playoffs?
Sure, but I don't know. Thanksgiving, you've been so bad for so many years, beating the Bills, 9.5-point favorites. It would be probably top 5.
It would top 5 definitely, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, it would be fascinating if they're able to continue to move the ball because I mean, it just seems like when they play bad defenses, the offense moves. When they play good defense, the offense falters. And this is very much a good defense, especially at the line of scrimmage for this Bills front four.
Yeah. The other thing is the Jameson Williams of it all. He was my number one wide receiver. I don't remember where you had him, but if he's my number one wide receiver, it might actually be an insult. You might actually feel less optimistic about it. But he is someone who has been practicing. I don't think it's been announced if he would play at all, so I don't know he'd do much. But at least we're on the verge of maybe a Jameson Williams sighting in the NFL.
Yeah, I'd be excited for it. He was my number 2 receiver last season, and honestly, if he was healthy, I might have put him number 1. But I don't know if he's going to play yet. But it would be exciting to get him on the field because that guy is electric.
Yeah. Either way, I think again, it is kind of funny though. We talk about this, Thursday night or this great Thanksgiving slate. 2 of these games though are separated by 9.5 or more points.
Yeah, I mean, but the Lions and Giants have outperformed expectations all season, so can't say it won't happen again.
Sure. I think I agree with you. I think this feels like a great, hey, they don't call him Dan lose but cover Campbell, for nothing. This feels like a great lose but cover game.
Yeah, give me a nice 24-17 Bills win, Lions cover.
Yeah, I think I like that. I think that's right on the money. Kyle, give me a game. We have 3 left.
All right. 49ers at home against the Saints.
Yeah, I had the 49ers winning. Andy Dalton slowly looked better. He's definitely been a very Jekyll and Hyde type situation going on there. But 49ers offense is rolling right now. I think they'll continue to roll. I think that the Saints might put up some points, but I don't think they'll put up a ton. This feels like another, 38-17 victory.
49ers haven't covered as well this season, and I think let me check the injury report on this before I give out false information. But there are some guys missing, I think, in the Saints secondary. Lattimore is questionable now. We'll see if he plays. But it just hasn't felt the same, it feels like, for the Saints secondary. And I don't know. Shanahan's going to scheme 24 on this, and I don't think Dalton hits 24.
Right. And again, it's not just Dalton's fault. There's only so much he can throw to.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Olave's been really good. Olave might, have a real argument for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
But there's just not a lot of guys around him. Everything that we hope for from the Saints team really hasn't worked out.
Yeah. I think we did the conversation last week of, how bad of a situation is it for the Saints right now. We don't have to go there necessarily this week, but what's the pathway to victory for the Saints? Is it just get a bad Jimmy G performance and maybe Alvin Kamara goes off, gets you can win it sort of like 27-24?
Yeah, and I mean, Olave has been able to hit about a deep shot a game. So if he
Hmm.
gets a couple in this game, has a big game, this Saints team might be able to score a little bit, and this defense is able to kind of have a throwback performance in the secondary and be able to overwhelm them.
Yeah, that seems like the victory. That seems like the pathway to victory. I don't really have much else to add on this one. Do you have anything else?
Yeah. No, I think I'm good. I like the 49ers a lot. I don't know. I'm
Who
really
do you have cover? If they pick a team, Niners 9.5 or Saints plus 9.5, who do you got?
probably for San Francisco. We were just talking about it too, where, you know, should the Cowboys be the favorites of the NFC? And I think this team is just as capable of beating both Philadelphia and Dallas at this point. I really like what this team has.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about the 49ers right now is their record.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're able to string together a few wins here, bounce back. Now, the tough thing is, I mean, they could still win the division. If they win the division, I'm going to talk myself into it with some home games.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Should be interesting down the stretch. Okay. 2 games left. Kyle, I will be giving you Texans at Dolphins here. Amazingly, this is not the last game that we are picking. Who do you got?
I'm going to take Miami to rout them. This is going to be embarrassing. This is going to be maybe one of the biggest spreads of the season. I'm going Miami by 40. I think they win this game by a lot.
Wow, Miami by 40 is the prediction. I'll say that I think the Texans stay within 40.
Stay within 40. So if I gave you 39.5, you'll take it.
Yeah, I think so. But Kyle, how do you feel about this breaking news that came out today? Zach Wilson, not the only quarterback from 2 years ago's draft class to be benched. Davis Mills will not be starting. Kyle Allen, the starter.
Oh, darn. Yeah, it doesn't really move the needle that much for me.
No. Why? Why do this by the Texans?
See if something else works.
I guess so. I mean, I feel like I would at least want to. I just don't know what we're doing. I feel like we know Kyle Allen's a pretty constant. Like we pretty much know who Kyle Allen is.
I mean, here's the problem though. Like, how many times can you let Davis Mills just hand the ball to the other team before you say, okay, we got to make a change? This guy had 5 inches per play in the first half of the game last week. Like,
Sure.
yes, you don't want, you want to give your young quarterback every chance to try and succeed, but there comes a point where you can't just keep embarrassing yourself. And this Texans team's just straight up embarrassing.
When is that point? Because I think Texans fans are saying, no, Kyle, believe it or not, there isn't the point where we stop embarrassing ourselves. There very much is not.
Well, I mean, I don't know, man. This guy, it was horrendous. That was one of the worst. I mean, if he should be giving a gift basket to Zach Wilson for last week,
Right.
and everybody talk about Zach Wilson because that was one of the worst quarterbacks. That was Nathan Peterman esque.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
So I don't know. I think it's I don't see a scenario like I yeah, I think it's a little weird to make this spot and just not let him finish out the season, but he hasn't exactly earned the starting job. And if you want to keep the locker room intact and saying, oh, well, everyone has to earn their position, there's no way you could say Davis Mills has earned his position.
I guess so. I mean, I just think if I'm a fan of the Texans, I would rather at least see Davis Mills in there. At least I can kind of talk myself into, hey, maybe he'll have a great final few weeks of the season, or is maybe this the reason why? The last thing they want is for him to have like one random game late in the season where he looks good, and then there's now people get mad that they moved off of him.
I mean, could Davis Mills honestly do anything in the you're not a Texans fan and you're generally knowledgeable at football, so it's kind of hard to put this question on you other than a Texans fan. But is there anything Davis Mills could do over the last 6, 7 games of the season, whatever it is, 8 games of the season, to say, oh yeah, he deserves a chance to compete for the starting job next year?
No.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I do think Davis Mills gives you a better chance of losing.
That's true. If you want to keep tanking, but I don't think they're going to need a lot of help trying to lose games.
You might be right. Yeah, you might have. Damian Pierce is good.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. I like him, but
That's what we say every week. It's just like David Pierce is good. Like that's like the one like nice thing everyone has to say about the Texans.
we've just destroyed the Texans for 5 straight minutes, and we got to end it with Damian Pierce is good to make Texans fans feel a little bit. I said they're going to lose 42-0. I mean, there's just no way that this is not a
42 to
convincing.
nothing now. So now it's
Yeah,
you've added points.
yeah. I mean, it could be 50-10. I'll give you any number of points right now, and I think I'd take the Dolphins.
Okay. Okay. So for the Dolphins, this is I guess I don't know. I don't know what to say about the Dolphins here. Dolphins are good. We know the Dolphins are good. You're right. The Dolphins should probably cover the spread.
Yeah, I mean, Lovie Smith should just keep like two safeties like 30 yards downfield, basically. He's
Oh,
just
he
like,
might.
yeah, I know. It's just like, listen, they can have anything underneath they want. I am not giving up 4 straight like 50-yard touchdowns because that's very capable of happening, even though those guys are like 10 yards downfield.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I don't. Is there any pathway to victory? Right. Is just run the ball well, run the ball a lot for the Texans, and then hope you can get one or two plays on defense.
They would have to get like 4 or 5 turnovers.
You think so 3? If you say right now, Texans win the turnover battle 3-0, you're still going with the Dolphins.
I'm taking the Dolphins.
Okay. What about if it's 4-0?
The Dolphins still have 7 possessions to score, something like that. So yeah, give me the Dolphins.
Okay. All right. Well, it'll be hilarious if next week when the Texans win. If this is going to be a great segment to listen to.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine? I don't see any way it's happening. Dolphins
I
are
think it's
rolling right
possible.
now.
I mean, it's the NFL. We've seen crazier things.
Yeah, that's true. Crazier things have happened, but this would be particularly crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, last game on the list is one that you're giving me. I don't know if I've ever seen this before where the defending champions are 15.5-point underdogs as the Rams are 15.5-point underdogs to the Chiefs. It's in Kansas City. No Matthew Stafford in this game is what it's looking like. So that's obviously a big factor. The Rams already were an inconsistent team. And now given the massive injuries they have to this roster, there's a chance that maybe the Rams defense can do something to the Chiefs offense. That's the hope. I don't see how they're moving the ball though. And when you're not moving the ball, not the way you beat Patrick Mahomes is you outscore him. I don't see a scenario where this Rams team outscores Mahomes.
Yeah, I don't either. I heard the argument the other day, is this the worst professional sports title defense ever? And I think there's beginning to be some argument to it.
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, it's a tough one. I think about the first two that popped in my head were the Buccaneers had a tough title defense. They did not make the playoffs in 2003. Was
Yeah.
and
Patriots
then
also missed it in 2002. It went 7-9.
That's right. Yeah, and then did it go 7-9 or 9-7?
I thought it was 7-9.
Okay, you
Maybe
might be
it was
right.
9-7. But yeah, I think it was a weird year though, where like everybody else in the AFC East made the playoffs. So
Gotcha. Yeah, didn't the Dolphins get the 1 seed that year, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, it was a weird season.
Right. And then, the other one that popped in my head, I know the Broncos missed the playoffs the following year after 2015. I'm sure someone will have a great example. I can't really think of a great one off the top of my head.
I mean, if you go cross-sport, the best example I heard, they went 9-7. That was wrong. But
Because I thought that Brady never had a losing season was my memory.
that's right. So it was 9-7. But the best example I heard was the 99 Bulls, if you go cross-sport. Because they lost Jordan and they lost Pippen. They went, and then it was a lockout season. I think they won like 12 games.
But that's also weird. It's like, okay, yeah, if you lose, like, I feel like same thing with the Broncos. It's like, okay, yeah, you lose your star player. Like, yeah, you're gonna look worse.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. So it's like Whitworth was obviously the big loss, and Odell, but it wasn't like they lost a ton from their team.
Right. Like we still thought that they were going to be contenders this year.
Yeah. So bizarre, very bizarre season. What were we talking about with this game? Oh yeah, the Chiefs are going to win by 20, right?
Chiefs are going to win by a lot. Yeah. Unless, again, I could see a scenario where the Rams maybe can do some stuff, but I don't know. Just crazy. I just think it's crazy, right? I would love to know the stats on it. Has there ever been a more lopsided line by a defending champion being 15.5-point underdogs?
Yeah. It'd be interesting to look at the data on that one, but can't imagine it's happened too often, if at all. I do think, like you said, there might be a scenario where the Rams defense. I mean, it kind of has. They run the scheme that kind of would give Kansas City issues, right? Although Kansas City has been good against cover two this season, or deep coverage this season, but it could be
Mm-hmm.
the one that gives Kansas City issues and then makes it a little bit closer. I just don't see a scenario where the Rams are getting 10 points in this game.
Right. Yeah. That's just the thing is I just don't know what they're. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is the Bryce Perkins go. He goes off and has a great game. I don't know. I mean, I think honor system. I don't know if anyone had ever heard of him before a week ago. So I don't know how good I feel about that.
I mean, I knew him in college, but
Okay. I forgot that some people watch college football.
yeah, he
That's
wasn't.
my bad.
He wasn't inspiring with Virginia either, so I don't know.
Yeah.
The one interesting thing I'm ready to watch about this Rams team is I like Kyron Williams. I like the kid they drafted at running back. He finally got healthy the last 2 weeks, and then they cut Darrell Henderson. So they're basically giving him the backfield now. He's good catching the ball out of the backfield. Can he do a little bit in this game? I'm not betting a lot because there's just not a lot of weapons around him, but I'm interested in watching him play.
Yeah. Also, Malcolm in the chat could go Marlins after they won their first World Series, 54-108 the year after. That has to be the worst. How could it be worse than that?
Yeah, that's a bad one. But didn't they lose a bunch of guys too?
I don't remember.
Was that 2003 or did they win before that?
I believe they won. I know they've won twice. I think that was before that, but I don't remember.
So it was before that. Then yeah, because I think after the second one, they also lost like Miguel Cabrera, Beckett, all those guys. Mike Lowell.
Marlins still one of the crazier stats of all time of have never won their division but have 2 World Series wins.
Sometimes it's all it takes.
Yeah, Tampa Bay had a good one for a while too. If they had a huge for a year, they had like a 13-year division. Hadn't won their division in like 13 years, but had won a Super Bowl. That was fun too.
Yeah. So that 1990 had Luis Castillo, Edgar Renteria, a couple good players, and Darren Rovell's favorite person, Bobby Bonilla, was on that team. Moises Alou, he was pretty good. Gary Sheffield. That was a good team.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we covered that game nicely before we get too off the rails. Yeah. Kyle, that's your show.
Yeah, good stuff once again. Looking forward to Thanksgiving. I gotta get up early and cook, but should be fun.
Gotcha. So you're cooking. Do you always cook? Is this a new thing?
No, we did not go home. We're not going home to the family this year. So
Gotcha.
We are figuring out ourselves. I told my wife and my brother who's staying with us to figure out some of the side dishes because I got turkey and green bean casserole, and my brother got bagged powdered mashed potatoes. So that's his contribution. I'm making the turkey.
Yeah. Nicely done. Yeah. I've always. Oh, there's a dog. Dog's excited for Thanksgiving. Yeah, it should be fun. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone except for the Canadians. But what if we forget to wish Canadians happy Thanksgiving when it's their Thanksgiving? Should we maybe we'll wish them a happy Thanksgiving now for Canadian Thanksgiving, whenever it is?
When is Canada Thanksgiving? Canada Thanksgiving.
I don't know. I know it's not tomorrow.
Oh, we missed it. It's in October. Monday, October 8th, 2023. Happy Thanksgiving in advance, Canada.
Yeah. No. Again, thank you to everybody, though. We do appreciate it. Kyle, let them know you can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Ronan. And make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That's at On the Sideline JK.
Yes, of course. Anywhere you get, if you want to listen to the podcast on an audio only file, anywhere you get your podcast, that should be available. It's the On the Sideline podcast, so check that out. And yeah, any final thoughts?
Looking forward to the week 12. Looking forward to eating tomorrow, and looking forward to the World Cup. I'm gonna win some bets tomorrow too. Looking forward to that.
Yes, should be a lot of fun. Thank you to everybody. We do appreciate it. And until next time, see you later, alligator.
Peace.